Yeah, you're saying it right. Your boys for prize picks. Put in $5. Win or lose, you get $50 back. It's free bread, man. Go ahead and get the free bread at prize picks, baby. Use code CDotty when you're making your account. CDotty. YouTube, what's good? It's your boy CDotty. Today we got model student turned serial killer, Philly Joker. Now, I halfway heard about this story. Not really. Well, I'm not gonna say halfway heard about this story. Like, I seen the nigga picture and I seen this dude play basketball and he was good, real good or some shit. He basically threw it away. No. This was the post. I remember it said basketball. Nah, actually I forgot, bro. I don't know. I don't know. I might be. I don't want to confuse two posts I'm thinking of. I might be confusing shit. But yeah, this is an hour-long doc. Let's get into it. I don't know if I should skip this intro or not. I might skip this intro so I don't get spoiled. I'm gonna skip the intro. Let's get started from born and raised in Philadelphia.
The city of Philadelphia has a long and dark history of violence, and in many cases this brand of brutality comes courtesy of the city's many historic gangs. Whether we're talking about the Italian mafia of the old days or the modern street gangs, Philly has been a treacherous place from the very start, and a big reason for the city's cutthroat mentality is its crushing poverty, as Philly has for a long time been the poorest big city in America. This poverty particularly affects Philly's Black and Latino communities, whose poverty rates are about double compared to the white residents.
What? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong shit. Okay. Damn. But it's only 15% Hispanic, so basically it's mostly blacks.
Despite them making up a clear majority of the population. This is also reflected in the city's significant residential segregation, the poor black communities of Philly being amongst the most segregated in the entire of America, with only Chicago having an even higher rate when it comes to America's big cities. And of course, when there's such significant pockets of poverty, serious crime will usually follow, with gun violence in Philly being heavily concentrated amongst the poorest communities. Growing up in these active war zones can leave the youth there scarred with deep and long-lasting mental health issues. Some may turn to desperate measures to escape the surroundings, while others end up getting sucked into the violence themselves, a survival mechanism in a kill or be killed environment. This leads to some youths getting consumed by the idea of
so people just join gangs for safety. That where most people join gangs for safety. I don't even know. That shit's not even safe though. Like, being a gang member not even safe. You might as well take that risk not being one.
Revenge, while others may even get addicted to the violence itself and actually find pleasure and release in participating in the killing. This is the environment where Noah Scurry was born on May 30th, 2007. His birth eerily coinciding with the filming of the movie The Dark Knight, the second installment of director Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, which would introduce the late actor Heath Ledger's critically acclaimed performance as the Joker. This new, much more dark and twisted rendition of the legendary Batman villain would later become Noah's alter ego in the streets of Philly. Not much is known about Noah's early life, but based on what we do know, he appeared to have a relatively happy childhood. Noah's loving parents, Megan and Rob,
I can't talk to his pop.
For their young son. They would work hard to keep him fed and well clothed as a child. Always dripping in the latest Ralph Lauren, Noah was a stylish kid whose parents clearly cared for him and wanted the best for him, and his parents would do their best to keep Noah busy and focused on positive
nigga,
hobbies.
You doing all of this, bro? You still want a game, man?
Seemingly practiced many different sports, from martial arts to baseball, and of course basketball, where he would eventually excel the most, becoming his high school team's top scorer. His parents would also make sure that Noah's intellectual side was equally stimulated, as he would show great promise in school as well, becoming an honor roll student who would score the highest result in his school's SATs. Something even more impressive when you consider the fact his high school, the Samuel Fells, is among the worst performing schools in Pennsylvania. This is an interesting aspect, as having covered many demonic gangsters who seemingly came from violent upbringings that thrust them into the violence before they really knew better, Noah apparently had a lot of love.
Okay, but why are you dressed as a Joker, my nigga?
And support, and was nurtured to excel at life. However, Noah was also clearly influenced by street culture since a young age, and while there are no signs that his family was in any way affiliated with gangs, he can often be seen throwing up what seem like gang signs in his early childhood.
That nigga throwing up the same
shit. It's not clear if Noah at the time was simply imitating what he saw other people doing, or if he was actually already affiliated with gangs. But there were numerous street gangs operating in the area.
Y'all can't just ask their parents? Like, their parents do not know what this nigga 11-year-old business? Like, I'm confused.
Noah lived at the time of his death, and eventually he would allegedly become affiliated with a gang called the Whackers from the Lawncrest section of the city, who go by the name Pavement Boys, or PB, and are repped by rappers like No Pix and Rel Sosa. Noah was also seemingly close with gangs from the Frankfurt section of the city, particularly gangs called Parkside and Certified Clappers, or Double C. The biggest rivals of these gangs will be the gangs called M24 and their younger generation called Fast Break, who hail primarily from the Olney section of the city. The Fast Break have become well known in Philly drill culture recently after their members allegedly killed Philly's most well-known drill rapper, YBC Dull, in August 2024. His killers allegedly being as young as 14 years old, with Zakeem Blake, who had gone missing from his parents a year earlier, and 16-year-old Aiden Waters, who was also gone missing from his parents a year earlier.
A year? Nigga, they probably thought you was passed on. Nigga, you been missing for a year? And you was just gangbang? He's probably in one of his OG. No, not OG. One of his big dog's house. Just living. A year and you pop out with a murder case at 13?
And 16-year-old Aiden Waters, who was also a former talented track and field runner, although he never featured on the cover of the ESPN magazine, as some pages would falsely report based on a custom cover likely made by his parents. Nor was he the national champion on the 1500 meters in 2015, although he did come up third place. With all this just going to show you that being a promising athlete isn't quite enough to stop a young man being sucked into the violent life of the Philly streets. But anyway, growing up in an active war zone, Noah Scurry would be no stranger to gun violence growing up. In 2016, when Noah was only 9 years old, his cousin would be gunned down in the Mayfair neighborhood, located only about 3 miles east from Noah's home, where he would ultimately end up losing his life.
The search is on for the gunman who opened fire, taking the life of a 17-year-old boy. The triple shooting, which happened right across from a playground, also sent 2 other people to the hospital with critical injuries.
That surveillance video captured the 3 victims hanging outside of this corner store behind me at Hawthorne and Barnett shortly before the shooting. It actually happened here down this alley, which does border Sterling Street. 17-year-old Quantico Brunson Moten was killed. 2 other young men remain in critical condition. Surveillance video shows Quantico Brunson Moten, the 2 other victims, and 2 more people standing outside the corner grocery store last night. A white car pulled up and a man dressed all in black got out and walked down Hawthorne. A little while later, the group followed in that direction. Police say it was here in this nearby alley that shots were fired. 17-year-old Quantico was shot in the torso, as was a 16-year-old victim. Back on the surveillance video, you can see the man run back to the idling white car outside the corner store. Quantico was killed. Today, his father washed away the blood left at the scene.
We kept our son close, and we kept his friends close. They call his mom and pop all day.
The store owner and friends identified this young man as Quantico. This is video of him inside the corner store just before the shooting that would claim his life. His parents said he excelled in sports and was well liked.
He was silly all the time. He was just silly all the time.
Things would begin to ramp up around 2020 as the COVID pandemic brought a spree of violence all over America, including Philadelphia, where the already high murder rate would spike to the level of the 90s when the crack epidemic was intensifying the gang wars. In December 2020,
damn. They putting up crack baby numbers?
Noah's good friend, 14-year-old Tamer Timms, also known as Tartar, was gunned down in Olney, less than 2 miles away from Noah's home.
Well, deadly gun violence continues to rise in Philadelphia with more and more young lives cut short. Last night, a 14-year-old boy became the latest child killed. Action reporter Jacqueline Lee is live in the Olney section of the city tonight with more on the investigation into this deadly incident and the devastating statistics. Jacqueline.
Well, Rick, we cover so many shootings. Sometimes it's easy to forget to see the humanity in it. But this was a 14-year-old boy. This is someone's son. This is someone's friend. And anti-violence advocates are saying these killings are creating a culture of fear in the city. Family members describe 14-year-old Tamer Timms as the life of the party, a star basketball and football player.
He was an outdoor and fun kid, like the crack jokes. This was a regular kid, a regular 14-year-old child living his life. My son didn't deserve this.
That's why his mom Regina and other
I'm so stupid, bro. I'm like, what do you mean they like? Nah, I didn't want to say what I was thinking. Like to crack. Never mind. I'm chatting. I'm chatting, bro.
This was a regular kid, a regular 14-year-old child living his life. My son didn't deserve this.
That's why his mom Regina and other family members are puzzled as to why he was shot in the chest and back on the 5900 block of North Masher Street Thursday night. He later died at Albert Einstein Medical Center.
I see this every day. I see it every day. It never really clicked until it happened to me. Crying on, I ain't been asleep really yet.
His brother says Timms was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I don't feel real.
Sadly, many families are facing this reality. The 6 ABC data journalism team found that shootings involving children are up 70% this year in Philadelphia.
Like Noah, Carmel was a very talented basketball player who was also known by the nickname 32, and following his passing, Noah's father would post on his social media how Noah had changed his jersey number to 32 in Tamer's honor, promising to always play in his memory. But
bro, that last name is tough too. That's like a league last name. Scurry. Come on, man, you so, bro.
shockingly, Noah's father, Ron Scurry, would make a post revealing that Noah had actually lost 5 friends in less than a year, showing just how out of control the gun violence in Philly had gotten at this point and how much it was personally affecting Noah. But unfortunately, that wouldn't be the end of it, because only a few months later he would lose yet another friend, with his father posting how his son had lost 6 friends to violence and saying that he can see the hurt in his son's eyes. 16-year-old Kari Simmons, also known as Car or Ree, would be killed in a senseless triple shooting at a rec center in West Philadelphia that would also leave 2 15-year-olds injured.
Now a community remembers a teen gunned down last week. And Dave, this is another victim of this senseless violence that's plaguing our city.
Jason, a big turnout tonight at the Christie Recreation Center at 55th and Christian as an entire community came out to mourn Kari Simmons and to hopefully start the healing process. Hundreds of balloons were released over this West Philadelphia rec center Tuesday evening.
Is that even safe to do?
16-year-old Kari Simmons, who was gunned down last week on this very same basketball court.
He was just here doing what all of us do. Come to Sherwood, play basketball, and just be kids.
Kyrie's senseless murder touched off calls for a citywide action plan.
Did it know who did it?
The death of yet another young man with so much promise.
We love Kyrie more than anything. That was my mommy's baby. That was her world.
A lot of people from that city popped out.
He did not deserve to die like that.
Police and Kyrie's family say he was an innocent victim, gunned down by 4 men who, for some unknown reason, opened fire into the playground.
Following Kari's murder, local news would report how the police were warning that the violence in the city was being fueled by social media, where gangs were going back and forth dissing each other.
After over 100 murders already this year, investigators are focusing on ways to prevent more violence, including monitoring Instagram, where police say shootings and murders are being fueled by hot-tempered Instagram posts between rival groups or individuals. Social media beefs turn violent.
Now,
niggas be beefing with niggas down the block.
Have the ability to use Instagram and go back and forth in real time, and it's something that we're very concerned about.
Commissioner Daniel Outlaw says social media
They be beefing niggas down the block with hella ARs and shit. Like, I'm good.
Is fueling a lot of these conflicts, and they're now having detectives monitor those conversations.
Life has turned into one big reality TV show. You don't have to be a celebrity.
Life is a TV show. If you try me, it'll be canceled.
To advertise your life or, document every moment of what we're saying and what we're doing.
Advocates and officials say parents can play a role in monitoring their teens' social media usage. Instagram shared tips for parents in a new guide released today. Pastor Carl Day says talking to teens can spark change.
A lot of times I think that we don't think about how polarizing social media is.
Instagram's restrict mode allows your teen to keep an eye on a potential bully. They can't tell they've been restricted, and posted comments aren't visible to anyone else but the person who wrote it.
Back in maybe our day, whatever our day may have been, if you had a problem with somebody, it was just between you, them, and probably the few people that knew. Now you got 6,000 followers, so in everybody's mind, all 6,000 people see you trying to play me. So now this is the way we have to handle things.
Noah was also familiar with the other side, as his friends weren't only dying in the gang war, but also allegedly doing the killing. Only a few weeks after the murder of Kari, 18-year-old Justin Porter, also known as Jay or 5, would be gunned down in the Frankfurt neighborhood.
The violence continues in Frankfurt, where an 18-year-old was shot and killed. It happened around 5 this evening on the 4700 block of Oxford Avenue.
They doing that broad daylight too, bro.
Justin was allegedly affiliated with the 24 gang, and following his death, popular rapper called Brady, who's affiliated with...
Not enough niggas getting arrested. He looked like a nigga I went to school with named DeAndre.
Certified Clappers and Parkside would drop a diss song called 5 on It, which references the classic song Got 5 on It by Loonies, whilst also using that phrase to diss 5. This was followed by another double C rapper called Hardy dropping a song titled Red Rum, where he would diss 5 more directly, saying that he died because he didn't have a gun and that they sped off on the police after the murder. Another popular rapper from the M24 side, Lil Muck, can be seen wearing a custom tribute shirt to 5 on his social media and would release a response to the diss song called On 5, which is both a tribute song to 5 and a diss towards Parkside and the Certified Clappers. In Muck's Instagram promo for the song's music video, other M24 members could be seen dissing Parkside, while Parkside members would seemingly taunt Muck about 5's death. One YouTuber would even claim that 5 was killed by a specific person, a rapper from Parkside called Qua4, who is in fact a good friend of Noah Scurry, with even Noah's father posting a picture of the two together. However, the murder of 5, aka Justin Porter, would remain unsolved. Unfortunately, the killing in Philly would only get worse during 2021, reaching a
lot of cold cases.
In October, 16-year-old R. John Jackson, also known as AJ or A-Roy, would be brutally killed near his home after he had just finished his work shift at McDonald's, with his twin sister being taken home in a lift.
We began with a call to action after another teenager is shot and killed on the streets of Philadelphia. I'm Yuki Washington.
I'm Jessica Cartalia. 16-year-old Ajon
Jackson
was shot outside of East Oak Lane home when police say he was ambushed. He and his twin sister had just finished their shift at McDonald's. Jasmine Payute is live at police headquarters with how gun violence is affecting principals trying to keep their students safe. Jasmine?
Yuki, Jess, good evening. It goes without saying, there's a gun violence crisis in Philadelphia.
Once again, the Parkside rappers would diss the dead mercilessly, this time borrowing a chapter from YBC Dull's playbook, who had made a name for himself by dissing his dead enemy, who was also killed after finishing his shift working at McDonald's too. In the music video for Hardy's song Red Rum, his friends can be seen tossing out French fries, something that YBC Dull had also done. And in his song On Hound, Hardy would rap how M24 hadn't got back for someone who died whilst eating fries, before mentioning how they were leading by 2-0, an apparent reference to the murders of both 5
act like they playing
AJ. Hardy would
soccer.
even film himself in court,
like
confronting an M24 member and dissing AJ to their face.
Look, it's me and my man B. And me and did it. And you know who did that to your man. Shut up. Shut the up. He's a young boy. I slapped on the back of his head right now on live. You're not trying to lock in.
This church?
Come on, let's lock in. Let's lock in. Your man about to be in here for an hour. We can lock in real quick. Use a ball. Wallah, he used a and AJ did it. Watch out, bro. Bitch ass. Y'all just see me smack that. Y'all just see me smack that.
Coming into 2022, the murder rate would fortunately begin declining, but that would be a small consolation to the people living in the city's war zones, where murders would continue to happen at a steady rate. And in August, it was time for Noah Scurry to experience yet another loss, as his friend, 18-year-old Hasir Adams, would be killed during a particularly violent night in Philly.
Just this morning, Philadelphia police are looking for up to half a dozen shooters in cases that began yesterday afternoon, carried through in the overnight hours, and there has been shooting as of just a few hours ago. Take a look at this video. This is from a deadly shooting on Bouvier Street. There were over 40 shell casings on the ground here. Officers say someone shot 2 people at this scene. One of them did die. The other is listed in critical condition this morning. And then in broad daylight yesterday, around 5 o'clock, right near this Dunkin' Donuts on Girard Avenue, 3 men were shot. One, a 65-year-old whose sister says he was driving by the scene in his pickup truck when a stray bullet from the shooting went through the windshield into his arm.
Hasir was known as an outgoing person with a real big heart who did anything for the ones that he loved. But allegedly, he was also known as a feared shooter in the streets who went by the menacing nickname Bad News. By this point, Noah Scurry had lost as many as 7 close friends to the streets, and as his father said, he could see the pain and suffering in his son from these losses. Perhaps unsurprisingly then, from here, Noah would begin to undergo a dark transformation, vowing to get revenge for his friends and beginning his own plots to wage war in the streets and cause others the very same devastation that he had endured. And it would be soon after this that he would take on his terrifying alter ego, becoming the Joker.
The fuck? What do you mean, nigga? Birth of the Joker. Serial killer?
A black cloud lingered over Philadelphia, casting a dark shadow on the kids living there. Kids with lives dreams, and their whole futures ahead of them, would wake up and go to school not knowing if this would be their last day, and witnessing so many of your friends lose their young lives before they ever even started would turn even the cleanest of hearts cold. These murders ignited something dark in the minds of the youth of Philly. Kids, not even old enough to buy a beer, would be going through unbearable pain. What could their parents possibly even understand of what these kids were going through? Kids pushed to their limits, fragile minds that hadn't even developed yet, undergoing trauma, only comparable to shell-shocked soldiers fresh out of a war zone. It's no surprise then that this sort of grief ended up consuming the youngsters, like Noah Scurry, who in the name of survival or revenge felt the need to transform into something else, something terrifying, a new identity that would give them back control and save them from the danger by becoming the danger themselves. This is how the Joker persona was born. 2023 would end up being a pivotal year for Noah Scurry. In May, he would visit the Girard College, which provides college preparatory courses, likely meaning that Noah and his family were preparing for the next step on his educational journey, aiming to get him a scholarship to a university. However, later that month, there would be yet another mass shooting in the Frankfurt section, which would end up killing a 66-year-old man and injuring 3 teenagers.
Police say someone shot 3 15-year-old boys on Mulberry Street in Frankfurt. This happened late Sunday night. They went to the hospital and are expected to be okay. Police also found a 66-year-old man dead at the scene. He had been shot in the head.
As the local media would later report, one of these teenagers would allegedly turn out to be Noah Scurry himself. 2 days later, it would be Noah's 16th birthday, and his father would post a heartfelt message to him, where he wouldn't mention anything out of the ordinary, but he would allude to of something dramatic just having taken place, mentioning how many adversities his son had faced. It's possible that this shooting that injured him personally was the final straw that broke Noah, because only a few months later, he would allegedly commit, perhaps, his first murder. On the 20th of July, 25-year-old Devin Spady was hanging out with his friends on the 5800 block of Masher Street in the Olney section of Philadelphia. Spady was better known in the streets of Philly by his rapper name, Young Cheese, or YNG Cheese, making up one half of the rap duo, Mac and Cheese, that he had formed with his brother Trey Mac. The duo had achieved a minor buzz in the Philly rap scene, which was further boosted by the fact that they were both sons of the podcast phenomenon Gilly the King, formerly known as Philly rap legend Gilly the Kid, now famous for running the highly popular podcast $1 Million Worth of Game, together with his cousin Wallow. On this tragic night, Cheese and some friends were standing on the corner of West Negro Avenue and North Masher Street just before 8:30 p.m. when they would suddenly hear gunshots and begin running from the scene. Unfortunately, Cheese would be hit in the back, causing him to collapse on the street. He was later pronounced dead at the Einstein Medical Center, while 2 other victims would also suffer gunshot wounds but survive.
This happened last night just about 8:30 in the section of Olney, the corner of Masher and Nedrow Street, I should say. Just before 8:30, several calls came in. Police arrived to find 2 victims about a block away suffering from gunshot wounds. Investigators tell us a 25-year-old man was shot in the back, rushed to Einstein Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. The second victim, a 28-year-old man,
so they think
shot in the leg, as well as a 31-year-old man
that kid
also
did it?
Shot in the leg. So 3 men, 3 victims here, and this is what Chief Inspector Scott Small had to say.
Now we know the shooting took place at Masher and Nedrow. That's where we found 10 spent shell casings. So we know 10 shots were fired from a semi-automatic weapon. And that's where all 3 of these victims were struck.
Police say Devin Spady, better known as Young Cheese, was one of 3 people shot in the 5800 block of Masher Street in Olney Thursday night. Shot in the back, the 25-year-old rapper was a rising star and the son of one of Philadelphia's biggest stars, Gilly the King. He uses his platform to speak out against violence, and now violence has claimed the life of his son.
For him to be a victim to the same violence that he's advocating against, that's just heartbreaking.
Gilly the King is a
that boy Charleston White said he was playing gangster.
Philanthropist. He and his $1 million worth of game podcast partner Wallow also helped give away millions of dollars to support local businesses, and both were awarded the key to the city.
Gilly and Wallow have become the unofficial mayors of the city of Philadelphia. How about that? Right? They are the voice of the youth.
Soon after, the news about Cheese's passing would reach the people close to him, and Wallow would post a heartfelt message to Cheese's father Gilly on Instagram, telling him how he was going to look after Gilly on behalf of Cheese. Later, on an episode of $1 Million Worth of Game, Wallow would actually open up about having to personally tell Gilly the tragic news of his son's passing.
One of the hardest things I ever had to do was tell Kez that Cheese ain't gonna be here no more. I said, Cheese got shot. No, I'm not thinking about it. I never forget I was in the bathroom. Gil knocked on the door. Yo, man, his head was down like, man, Cheese got, I said, what? I tell him what happened. He said, no, I'm gonna check into it right now and see what's going on. Boom, boom, boom. Once I hang up, he called me back and said, don't put Gil on the phone no more. I said, all right, so we driving. He tell me on the phone, he's like, yeah, man. He gone. I said, damn. So I put my face down and I go to walk out of the hospital because we in emergency. Gil see me. I said, damn. Because I'm like, I'm going to leave and they going to have to tell him in the hospital because so I walk out, Gil come out, and he like, cuz, what's up, cuz? What's going on? What's up? Because he peeped me, put my head down. That was the worst thing I ever told anybody. And I was like, man, Chief's gone. I never seen him like that. So it was like, in some type of way, I felt f***ed up because it was like I had to tell him the worst ever. So I felt some type of way, like it wasn't that I was responsible, but the fact that I told him that shit, that's the worst ever. So when I told him that,
that's tough.
I had to walk away and he was talking to me, telling me, so Gil just walked away, he was just f***ed up. And so I was so hurt because it was like, damn, man, I told him the worst shit in the world. And I did it day after day to try to make a better situation. But it was like, Cheese wasn't coming back. And it was like, I had to stay away from it. It was hard for me to face cuz for a while. So I would keep my distance. And it'd be like, it's f***ed up. Cuz.
I appreciate you for that too.
With Gilly later opening up about the experience on the Pivot podcast, talking about the pain he went through and the need to stay strong for his family.
You know, going through all that I've went through in my life, bro, that make you forward tough, man. That really make you forward tough. So, you know, what's done is done. And like you said, Cheese not coming back. That's the one thing that's a fact. So, for me to wake up every day and allow my family to see me in an emotional state where I'm not strong, that's not strong. You know what I mean? I'm only really weak around my woman and my friends. You know what I mean? Other than that, I gotta stay strong for my kids, man.
The local news would cover Cheese's funeral, held less than a week after his death, and highlight the need to stop the violence plaguing the city of Philadelphia, and mentioning also
I think that's his first body.
No suspects in the case.
Gilly the King laying his oldest son, Devin Spady, to rest on Monday. Spady, who rapped under the name Young Cheese, was killed in a shooting at the corner of Masher and Nedrow last Thursday night. Family friends say the loss hurts even more, knowing Gilly has long pushed people to choose a different path.
He always promoted a positive image and always talked about putting the guns down. So it's unfortunately that his son had to meet his demise this way.
Imam Tahir Wyatt made a point to address gun violence in his speech. He called on people at Monday's service to think before they act and to help those in need.
All of us know somebody. All of us know people who are this far away from revenge, from an endless cycle. But we have to be the ones to step up and be courageous.
Many family friends we spoke with believe losing a son to gun violence will motivate Gilly even more to stay active in his fight. But they also know he can't do it alone and say the community has to step up and take action.
We have to stop. We have to make a concerted effort to come together to find solutions to the craziness that is plaguing our city.
Gilly the King did not speak publicly at today's services. Philadelphia police say so far no arrests have been made in Spady's death and that this is an ongoing investigation.
Unfortunately, though, not everyone was so thoughtful regarding this tragic news. One of hip-hop's most controversial
that's what I was talking about.
Charleston White would use the death of Cheese to clap back at Gilly, who had previously labeled him as a snitch, posting some truly vile and demonic messages where he would make fun of Gilly's grief and even accuse him of getting his son killed as a sacrifice to the Illuminati.
Dead son, and you talking about snitching. Pow! Got your son in the head, boy, unalive. Pow! God goddamn it, young Gilly been shot. I remember how you and Wallow were crying. You and Wallow were crying. Oh my
I didn't see this video, but I seen him talking about it in the podcast.
my son got killed. Oh, you were crying. Now you talking about snitching. You goddamn right I'm a law-abiding citizen. That's why your son unalive. Ain't nobody ain't been no get back. The who killed your boy still living, breathing, and calming, farting, sneezing, coughing, and going to bed and waking up living life. And you still in agony. Unless you made the sacrifice. Unless you did the sacrifice. You hear me? Unless you the one put the hit on your son so you and Wallow can get that $100 million. I ain't
Let me say he
sacrificing
went
my
crazy.
boy for no
He said this nigga went crazy on Gilly, Kobe, Bryant, and Mike Tyson. Nigga, what the fuck they do to you, nigga?
$100 million. I don't want that much money, no way. I don't want that much goddamn money, no way, Gilly and Wallow, where we gotta kill nephew and son. I don't know who idea was it for you to sacrifice your son. You should have sacrificed the and kept the boy. And kept the boy. You should have sacrificed the and kept your son, but because you want to be in an Illuminati.
Some months later,
Why he sound like
October
that?
2023, Noah would make one of his first appearances under his Joker alter ego in the music video for his friend Qua 4, a song called Fallen Angels, a song dedicated to all of their friends killed in the Philly gang wars. Noah would be included in the video wearing his signature Joker mask and holding up a gun surrounded by other strap-toting Philly gangsters. But when Noah wasn't allegedly running around killing people in his Joker mask, he would still be keeping up appearances in school, where his basketball team would tell the fans that he was a player to watch out for and that he was going to have a big junior season. Unfortunately though, only a few months later, Noah would allegedly strike again in the streets. On the 4th of March, around 3:45 p.m, 17-year-old Damon Taylor, also known as Fat Dame, had just gotten out of school day at Immersed Charter High School. He was waiting to get on a bus with about 15 other students at the intersection of Ogons and Godfrey Avenues when two assailants would walk up to the bus stop and open fire. 5 people were hit with bullets, including 3 students who were standing outside at the bus stop, along with 2 older women who were sitting inside the bus.
The innocent
Despite the high number of
bystanders, bro.
casualties, the attack appeared to be targeted towards Damon, who would be hit the worst. This was a gruesome hit, and his injuries would be brutal to say the least. A video would later be posted online showing panicked students at the scene, with one girl being heard saying, "His face is gone," when referring to Damon's injuries.
His face is gone.
The fuck?
Damon was taken to Einstein Medical Center, where he would unfortunately pass away from his injuries.
Good evening. It's Monday night. We begin with breaking news here tonight. Chopper 6 over the scene now of a deadly shooting that unfolded this afternoon on board a SEPTA bus. It happened just before 4 o'clock today. That bus coming to a stop right there at 16th and Limekiln and Ogons. Just minutes ago, Philadelphia police gave us an update revealing that a 17-year-old
Y'all got no
was dead,
cameras?
the apparent target in this, and 4 other people were shot. 2 more teens and 2 women. 50 and 70 years old. This alive at the scene right now. Those 2 women
Bro, y'all
sitting on the
can't
bus
aim,
at the
bro.
time. Action News reporter Katie Cacho live there. We're all
Niggas can't aim.
this afternoon. Katie, police say video shows 2 gunmen here.
That's exactly right, Brian. And where I'm standing is
They
where
said
police
video,
say
but
around
it is on
15
video.
to 20 people were waiting for that SEPTA bus when those shots were fired. I'm going to step out of the shot here so you can see what's behind me. As you can see, police have marked off multiple spots where they did find multiple shell casings. Now, there are multiple scenes to this shooting, and I do want to show you what another scene looks like here on the 6000 block of Limekiln Pike. You can see that SEPTA bus, and it has multiple bullet shots through those windows. Now, there are multiple victims here, and I do want to show you a list of all of the victims. Police say a 17-year-old was killed. A 17-year-old suffered a graze wound to the shoulder. A 50-year-old was on the SEPTA bus. She was shot in the arm. A 70-year-old woman was on the bus. She was shot in the head. Police say both of those women were bystanders. Police also say a 15-year-old suffered a graze wound to the back. Now, everyone is over at Einstein Medical Center recovering at this time.
Yo, that 70-year-old come back from a headshot, she or he is like insane. Like, that's crazy, bro. That's insane. That's
Philly's
70?
infamous district attorney Larry Krasner would later be moved to tears when discussing the incident during a press briefing, promising that everyone involved would be arrested and prosecuted.
Juvenile who has now lost his life. We have a 70-year-old woman. Excuse me. We have a 70-year-old woman with a grocery cart on a bus who is struck in the head with a bullet. This is an absolute outrage. It will be solved. Those responsible will be vigorously prosecuted.
Despite Krasner's promises, this murder remains unsolved to this day, but meanwhile, people close to Damon seemingly had their suspicions, as Damon, aka Fat Dame, was allegedly associated with the Fast Break gang, who were known to beef with Noah's Whackers gang, aka the Pavement Boys. And only 2 days after Fat Dame's murder, there would be another mass shooting, this time at a bus stop located near the Northeast High School, which on the other hand is located about 2 miles away from Noah's Samuel Fells High School and partly serviced by the same bus lines. At around 3 p.m, students were waiting to get on a bus near the intersection of Rising Sun and Cotman Avenues, when 3 masked assailants who had been waiting nearby in a blue Hyundai Sonata would step out and open fire, hitting 8 teens and wounding one of them critically, while a 4th suspect, a getaway driver, would wait in the car.
Tonight, Philadelphia police are urging the public take a closer look at the shocking surveillance video. Investigators say it shows the chilling moments. 3 armed suspects exit a stolen car, run up to a busy bus stop frequented by high school students, and indiscriminately fire more than 30 shots into the crowd. 8 teens between the ages of 15 and 17 were wounded. One of those teens now fighting for his life.
These are individuals shooting at a crowd of kids. That's really concerning. So we need people to see that.
This shooting, the 4th involving the city's transit system, SEPTA, and the 2nd involving minors this week alone.
We're going to target every criminal code on the bus.
But for the family and friends of 17-year-old Damian Taylor, it's too little too late. The teen was shot and killed on Monday as he waited for the bus. Several others were also wounded. As the investigation into this latest shooting continues, authorities are urging parents to get involved before another young life is claimed by gun violence.
Go in those rooms and look under those tables and look under those closets and get those guns out of the house. Because at the end of the day, many of these kids are coming from the same communities that they're shooting in.
They going right back home, going to sleep, eating dinner.
Unlike the shooting that took the life of Fat Dame, this one would unravel almost immediately, and less than 1 week later, the police would arrest 2 18-year-olds, Jamal Tucker and Arneal Buggs, in connection to the shooting.
This is video from the moment 18-year-old Arneal Buggs was taken into custody by U.S. Marshals Saturday. The day before, police say 18-year-old Jamal Tucker turned himself in. Philadelphia police, the mayor, and other leaders met today to announce their arrests. Both are now charged with the shooting that injured 8 Northeast High School students who were waiting for the bus last week. 7 boys and 1 girl, all between the ages of 15 and 17, were hit.
They snitched for the other 2?
We're impacted. To know that we're making progress.
It was 4 niggas. Did they snitch on the other 2?
We will not tolerate this type of violence on our streets or in our schools or near our schools.
Police say they developed suspects after recovering the stolen getaway car seen here in surveillance video. Buggs was also taken into custody with the gun that matched shell casings found at the scene. Police say the gun was a fully loaded and fully automatic pistol with a laser.
Young people who are trying to put it together, they deserve better, and they deserve to know that the city of Philadelphia is taking seriously what occurred.
At the news conference today, Mayor Sherrell Parker speaking on the bloodshed of the youth and the plans in the near future to implement a public safety plan for the city. Moving forward, it's an all-hands-on-deck approach as authorities continue to look for 2 more suspects.
The local news would also report, based on the court records, that the police were investigating the shooting's connection to the one that killed Fat Dame. This paperwork also revealing just how sloppy these youngsters had been, not only during the shooting, where they had seemingly aimed eyes closed into a group of innocent kids, but also during the getaway.
The NBC 10 investigators obtained court documents that detail how police narrowed in on Tucker and Buggs. The documents explain how the same stolen blue car used in the shooting was found later that evening on the 400 block of Fern Street in Olney. Detectives pulled surveillance from that immediate area, and according to the affidavit of probable cause charging Buggs, surveillance video shows 4 men exiting the vehicle 14 minutes after the shooting. The men then entered a home on that same block. From that address, police identified Jamal Tucker as a suspect. Detectives worked with the FBI to pull cell phone data from the cell towers that service the shooting location and where the car was stolen and found. Court records show that investigators determined that cell phones associated with Tucker and Buggs traveled, quote, in concert to the Sunrise Avenue shooting location and the 400 block of Fern Street where the stolen car was recovered. Police won't say for certain if Wednesday's shooting was a retaliation for Monday's other SEPTA shooting. That one resulted in a 17-year-old killed and 4 others injured. But the affidavit charging Buggs details a prison phone call Buggs received the day after the shooting from his uncle, Dontaz McMillan. It says the inmate asked the other male on the line, quote, "I heard about your man, you good?" And the younger male states, "Nah," with McMillan responding, "Yeah, it's never easy to digest," end quote. The document goes on to say that based on the context of this phone call, it is believed that the 2 individuals on this call are discussing the homicide at 6200 Ogons Avenue. That homicide occurred on March 4th. Buggs and Tucker were arraigned Sunday morning.
Arnell Buggs would also be charged with a February 2024 murder of a 20-year-old named Christopher Dowling, also known in the streets as Chris, together with 2 other teens, none other than Aidan Waters, the Fast Break member first arrested in relation to the murder of YBC Dull, as well as a man named Ryan Purcell, better known in Philly as the Fast Break affiliated rapper LR or Lil Ryan.
I feel like one of them niggas gonna end up snitching on I don't want to call this nigga the Philly Joker, whoever the model student basketball player is.
The following day, a 3rd suspect was arrested, 19-year-old Jermard Carter, who is also known as a rapper by the name of Mardo and also allegedly affiliated with the Fast Break gang.
Well, here we are on one of the main roads through Philadelphia at one of the main intersections, Academy, just about 5 doors off of Woodhaven Road. And there's a 2-apartment row house here. And there you see it, 12024 Academy Road. This is where Jermard Carter's father lives. And he said he answered the door to machine guns after 4 o'clock as police came looking for their son. Sources tell me the whole family was out in the backyard enjoying a nice day at the time. And so when they were knocking at the door, no one was answering it first. And then the father did answer the door. Here is video now of Jermard Carter being taken into custody by marshals and the task force that also includes a whole lot of Philadelphia police detectives who've been looking for him for nearly a week since the Wednesday shooting. So this makes 3 of the 4 they wanted. You remember 3 shooters and a 4th getaway driver. They wanted to get all 4. So
the 4th one is the last one.
Jermard Carter just turned 18. Authorities who took him into custody say he is 19 with a birth date listed for this October 1st, born in 04, which would make him nearly 20 years old come October. Here is some of what his father had told me earlier after the arrest. What can you tell me happened with your son?
I don't know. I just came to the door and to machine guns.
You came to the door and they had machine guns in your face? What did they say to you?
They just brought me outside.
The 4th suspect, 17-year-old Asir Boone, would also be identified after he failed to turn himself in, with the Philly police offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to his arrest.
First, armed, dangerous, and on the run. U.S. Marshals released a photo and the name of the 4th and final suspect in last week's SEPTA bus stop shooting.
3 suspects are now in custody, and tonight U.S. Marshals are searching for the final suspect.
There is now an all-out search for Asir Boone. This afternoon, the U.S. Marshals Service released this photo of the 17-year-old. They say he frequents Olney, but his last known address is in Germantown. Agents are also offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to his capture. If you come across Boone, do not approach him because he is considered armed and dangerous.
And about a week later, he would also be found hiding in the city of Alexandria, Virginia, near Washington, D.C.
20 minutes of nonstop news begins with breaking news. Another suspect captured. These are new pictures of the U.S. Marshals taking that suspect into custody. He's the 4th teenager arrested for the shooting. Injured 8 students at a SEPTA bus stop.
Authorities say the U.S. Marshals, they say that they gave this teen's family multiple days in advance to turn himself in. And when that didn't happen and they missed the deadline, authorities say they amped up the pressure. That ultimately led to this arrest today. The boy's name is Asir Boone, 17 years old. The U.S. Marshals took these pictures of his arrest today in Alexandria, Virginia. There was a warrant out for him that included attempted murder. Boone is the 4th and final suspect wanted in connection to the March 6 shooting of 8 Northeast High School students police say
These little ass boys' parents don't have a clue what they.
Police weren't done. They would also arrest a fifth suspect, 15-year-old Jeremiah Jefferson, who they claimed helped the four main assailants carry out the mass shooting.
Police made a fifth arrest in that mass shooting at a SEPTA station that injured 8 Northeast high school students in Burholm. Police say the 15-year-old suspect helped point out the victims to the gunman. Meanwhile, authorities say the suspects may be linked to even more crimes in the city.
And the communication went back and forth. He even says at one point, I'm wearing this type of clothing, don't cook me. And then at the point where they were leaving the Dunkin' Donuts to walk to the bus stop, he types the word go.
Out of the 5 suspects, 18-year-old Jamal Tucker, known in the streets as Mally from the Fast Break gang, had been the first to turn himself in, which would immediately prompt accusations that he was snitching, and he would eventually become the first person to accept a plea deal with prosecutors, prompting even more rumors that he was indeed cooperating with the police against his Fast Break buddies.
Suspects in a shooting that injured 8 students at a bus stop in Northeast Philadelphia earlier this year has pleaded guilty. Jamal Tucker pled guilty to several charges yesterday, including attempted murder and aggravated assault. He's one of 5 people charged in that shooting you might remember happened back in March. 8 students from Northeast High School were shot at the intersection of Cotman and Rising Sun Avenues. A judge will sentence Tucker in October.
But meanwhile, already a few months after the shooting that killed Fat Dame, there would be yet another young victim whose murder has been connected to Noah in many online rumors. In May, a 16-year-old, Tayshawn Williams, also known as Tay, was gunned down by 3 masked assailants who pulled up on him in a car when he was riding his bike near his home in the West Poplar neighborhood.
A grieving mother is pleading for the public's help finding her 16-year-old son's killer. It was last May when someone shot and killed Tayshawn Williams in Philadelphia's West Poplar neighborhood. Rick Williams has details in tonight's Crime Fighters Report.
Tyra Williams needs a lung transplant. She relied on her 16-year-old son, Tayshawn, for his support and help around the house.
Mom, I gotta go to school. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. You know, he was such a blessing to me.
On Saturday, May 25th, Tyra sent Tayshawn on an errand for her.
I sent him to the store for me to get some water, and he came back.
That night, he said he was going out.
He left out. It was like 8-something. He went around the corner to go where he usually be at, around the corner with his friends. Next thing you know, I get a call.
At 8:38 p.m., police were called for reports of a person with a gun along the 1200 block of Fairmount Avenue in Philadelphia's West Poplar neighborhood.
Worst nightmare.
Police say Tayshawn was riding his bike when a car pulled up and 3 masked people got out and began opening fire. Tayshawn was hit multiple times.
For what?
He was taken to the hospital where he died a few hours later.
The area where Tay lived is known for the Richard Allen Homes, a public housing project, with the gang hailing from the area also going by Richard Allen or RA. While there's also numerous smaller sets in this area that go by names like 103, YSF, or Gunner Gang, RA has been known to have a beef with a gang called Zoo Gang, whose members also rep a set known as Omerta that hail from the Strawberry Mansion section. Omerta and Zoo Gang members have been hit with several federal indictments in recent years regarding numerous major robberies and other crimes, including a heist where the assailants stole hundreds of thousands of dimes from a trailer that was waiting to transport the money to Florida.
Thousands of dimes scattered and shimmering in a parking lot of Philadelphia Mills Mall.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all got the dime, bro. Y'all got the dime.
When thieves broke in.
They were trying to cross-load the dimes into other things to carry it away. There's dimes all over the parking lot.
The cargo, $750,000 worth of dimes, was loaded up at the Philadelphia Mint yesterday. Police say the truck driver parked here overnight, went home, and got some sleep before a long day of driving to Florida. But when he returned in the morning, he found someone had broken into the trailer using bolt cutters and stolen hundreds of thousands of dimes.
These indictments have broken down how the Omerta and Zoo gangs worked together to commit these crimes, but also mentioning that these gangs had connections with other gangs in Philadelphia, with one of these allegedly being Noah's gang, the Whackers, aka Pavement Boys, as Noah would eventually drop a song under his Joker alias, together with another rapper called Drench Season, who's allegedly affiliated with Zoo Gang. Because of this connection between Zoo Gang and Noah's gang, and because of Tay's apparent connection to Fast Break, affiliated with members like Fat Dame, Noah has seemingly been connected to the murder of Tay in many online rumors, although others have denied this, and there's seemingly very little actual evidence to tie him to the murder. This would become somewhat of a pattern with regards to Noah's supposed victims, as there have been many bodies that people have tried to put on him with little to no evidence, such as 2 other teens that would be killed already in the following month of June.
Unsubstantiated sources, he is linked to the death of Izzy Stanley and the 18-year-old Tin Millie, who both died in June of 2024, a week apart.
Now, I'm not trying to go around putting murders on people, so please take all of this with a grain of salt.
However, at least in the case of Izzy Stanley, a 17-year-old girl who was killed when a shootout started at a party in Fairmount Park, one arrest has seemingly been made, but there's still seemingly nothing tying Noah to this incident. In May 2024, Noah would make another appearance in the music video for Qua 4's song Drill After Drill, but this time he would appear without his Joker mask, simply wearing a black COVID mask to hide his identity, all while toting a gun and flexing big stacks of cash. Interestingly, around the time of the video's release, Noah's father would also post several photos taken at the video shoot to his social media that showed Noah throwing up gang signs. By this point, Noah was truly living a double life, allegedly masking up and
gang sign, but I be doing that. I'm not no gang.
Killing people by night, but continuing to excel in school and sports by day. On the 10th of December 2024, Noah was selected as his high school team's best player in their game against Plymouth Whitemarsh High School. He was all over the team's social media at this time, clearly delivering good results on the court for his team. But about a month later, when Noah's high school was playing against one of their main rivals, the Imhotep Charter High School, Noah was reportedly not participating, which would explain why his team would take a major loss. Moreover, only friends and family were allowed to attend the game, which was rumored to have been the result of a rough encounter between these two teams at an earlier summer league game, where players from the Imhotep team had attempted to attack Noah due to knowing about his alleged involvement in the murder of Fat Dame, who had been a very loved student at that school. Part of the reason could have also been the fact that before this game, Noah had posted one of the first snippets of music to his Instagram, a song that included several disses towards Fat Dame, like Noah referencing the infamous video from the aftermath of the murder, where a girl can be saying how his face is gone. He would also make reference to the murder of Chris, aka Christopher Dowling, who was allegedly killed by Fast Break members, saying how his ops can't talk about Chris without mentioning how Fat Dame's soul left his body. Then, on the 13th of January, Noah would release his first full song and music video under his rap alias Joker OTV, the chilling song Swing My Door. The music video starts with the rapper Drench Season opening a fridge full of guns and handing one to Noah whilst wearing his infamous Joker mask. The duo, together with other masked teens, would then display their heavy artillery and guns equipped with switches to make them fire automatically. Drench Season then starts the song with lyrics that paint a picture of the dark world that these youngsters are inhabiting, saying how he's thirsty to swing that door, referring to the act of quickly opening a car door when spotting an enemy in order to run up and kill them from close distance, before saying that he already has 4 Bs, or bodies up, suggesting that there's 4 victims that he's already killed by this point. He then describes how he started the lifestyle of killing people and popping pills at the ripe age of 15, claiming this turned him into a goblin, which appeared to be something he was truly proud of. After Drench Season's verse, Noah, aka the Joker, would step in, delivering equally disturbing lyrics where he raps how one hand is not enough to count all of his victims, implying that he had already killed over 5 people at this point. He would aim disses towards specific rivals, like somebody he called Scoom, with some fans suggesting that this was another name for Fat Dame, as well as another guy called Quaddy, real name Quadir Diaz, who was found dead in a creek together with his friend under mysterious circumstances in April 2024. This song was undoubtedly disrespectful, and this is really where Noah painted an even bigger target on his back. Not only was he killing his enemies in the streets, but now he was proudly rapping about it, and despite hiding behind the menacing mask, those in the streets knew exactly who was responsible for these murders, and they wanted revenge too. And unfortunately for Noah, just as he had begun his rap career using his menacing mask and moniker as the Joker, there would be other ruthless masked shooters looking for him in the streets, with little care for who got in the way or witnessed the revenge that they were about to take upon him.
So the streets knew, but cops ain't know. Okay.
For joining us.
Good morning, Philadelphia. This just in. Police are still searching for the suspects in multiple murders that have taken place over the past week. People are being asked to stay vigilant and stay safe.
In the streets, there are no heroes or villains, only actions and reactions. The gang life is sadly a dead end, and no matter how fearsome you are, no matter how many people you've killed, it only takes the squeezing of a trigger to end your story too. Noah Scurry, aka the Philly Joker, had become a formidable force in the Philly streets in just a matter of months. The pain that he felt from losing so many of his teenage friends to the gun was barely eased by all the killings that he himself had done. Perhaps he was too young and naive to think that he would suffer the same consequences too, but the reality was that those people that he had hurt, just like he had been hurt himself, wanted their own revenge, and hiding behind his mask, his family, or his facade as a straight-A student athlete would ultimately not be enough to save his life. And in the end, like those friends or enemies of his that lost their lives so young, his life too would be cut short in the most poetically tragic way. On the 14th of January 2025, Noah Scurry would wake up early to head to the Samuel Fells High School, exiting his family's house located on Rohrer Street near Roosevelt Boulevard around 7:15 11:15 a.m. But as Noah stepped outside to the back alley of his family's row home, ready to get into a car with his mother, who was supposed to drive him to school, unknown assailants were ready and waiting for him. They would immediately jump out from a white Jeep SUV and begin shooting at Noah, hitting him numerous times before fleeing the scene in their car. And of course, as tends to happen too often these days, someone would immediately begin filming the aftermath, showing Noah's mother, distraught, hugging her son's lifeless body, covered in blood and bullet holes. Soon after, the police and
I thought that nigga went to jail for murder.
would arrive to the scene, and Noah would be taken to the Einstein Medical Center, where he was unfortunately pronounced dead only minutes later, having suffered several gunshot wounds to his chest and
I thought this whole time this nigga was in jail.
abdomen. The local media would jump on the story almost immediately, highlighting Noah's status as a star athlete and an exceptional student, at this point completely unaware of his murderous alter ego.
A teenager was shot and killed steps from his home. This is the 5,000 block of Rohrer Street, about 8 this morning, and we're learning the 17-year-old was on his way to school. The teenager was with his mother at the time. And Kelly, what else are you learning from this tragedy?
Well, Jason, police and school officials are identifying the 17-year-old tonight as Noah Scurry. He's described here at the high school as a great student and athlete. His family, understandably, was not ready to talk today. Police say they do believe he was targeted, but have not said why. Sophomore Mohammed Al-Faki leaves a solemn day of school at Samuel Fells High School. All after-school activities canceled today and men's basketball games canceled this week due to the killing of a teammate and senior, identified by police and district officials as 17-year-old Noah Scurry. Police say it all happened in an alleyway behind Rohrer Street, just off Roosevelt Boulevard, around 7 this morning. At least 20 shots fired in what they believe was a targeted attack. There was a backpack left in the middle of the crime scene, surrounded by shell casings, and tires of nearby parked cars blown out. A letter sent home to parents from the school principal said Scurry scored the highest among the Fells community on the SAT tests.
The student who was killed was exceptional. No problems from him whatsoever, according to the principal and other staff members. As you might imagine, they are distraught.
The following day, the story would receive a major update as the police would recover the assailant's getaway car.
figure out
The news
why.
would also show security camera footage of the vehicle at the murder scene. The police would also give out information that Noah had indeed been shot before his murder during the May 2023 incident that took the life of an older man.
Breaking right now, chilling video just obtained by CBS News Philadelphia showing the exact moment a gunman ambushes a local teenager on his way to school right in front of his frantic mother.
Good afternoon, Siapa. Police are one step closer into figuring out who is responsible. They believe they found a vehicle that may be connected to the shooting. Police say the 17-year-old Fells High School senior was shot multiple times as he was getting into a car on his way to school with his mom. Investigators say he was rushed to Albert Einstein Medical Center, where he later died. The video also shows a white Jeep Grand Cherokee take off from the alley behind the teen's home on Rohrer Street early Tuesday morning, right after the shooting. Police say they located the Jeep that matches the description of the car they were looking for in Northeast Philadelphia. Chopper 3 captured it in a police impound lot. And now CBS News Philadelphia has learned that Scurry has been shot before. Sources tell us back in May of 2023, he was one of 3 15-year-olds shot on Mulberry Street in Frankfurt. A 66-year-old was killed. That crime is unsolved.
At this point, Noah's murder seemed completely incomprehensible to most. After all, if star athletes and students like Noah can become the victims of gun violence, then nobody is safe. But meanwhile, the undefeated online detectives were uncovering the dark side of Noah's past. First, posts connecting him to the Joker OTV alias would appear already on the day of his murder. Some of these would even show old clips of Noah beating up his enemies. And soon, the mainstream media too would be forced to change the narrative, backtracking on the angle they'd taken in earlier reporting to cover this new, shocking twist in the story.
New tonight, law enforcement sources confirmed there was a rap video uploaded to social media the day before 17-year-old Noah Scurry was shot to death behind his home.
That's what it was. Oh yeah, so basically they said athlete killed days after or some shit like that after a diss video.
In front of his mother, who was getting ready to take him to Samuel Fells High School. A screenshot of the video shows a man in a Joker mask. at times appearing to hold a gun. Sources tell Fox 29 they believe that to be Scurry. In the video, he dances along other individuals who are also holding and showing off guns throughout it.
The storyline would completely change once the duality of Noah's life was exposed as both a star athlete who excelled in school, whilst also being a bloodthirsty, mask-wearing drill rapper, and somebody who had been killed less than 24 hours after officially dropping his first diss song towards his ops. All of this made the story go viral, with seemingly every hip-hop news outlet and YouTuber suddenly covering the story. Most notably, Philly-based YouTuber American Confidential would post an incredibly detailed and well-researched full breakdown about Noah's life and death only 5 days after his murder. The video would interestingly point out how the news got the narrative completely wrong about Noah when they initially reported on him in the context of his excellent academic record.
Family members, friends, and classmates were devastated by the sudden and senseless loss. A GoFundMe campaign launched by his cousin seeks to help cover funeral expenses. In her heartfelt message, she described Noah as a bright, loving young man with a heart full of kindness. Noah, only 17 years old, had such a caring and loving heart, wrote. He would do anything for his family, but most of all, for his siblings. Tributes and condolences have poured in across social media, where friends expressed their grief and shared memories of the teen. Speechless, I love you, one friend posted alongside photos of Noah Scurry. If people like myself and THF Philly weren't around, this would have been the end of the story. By the day of Noah's death, as is all too clear by now, 17-year-old star student athletes aren't just executed in front of their moms for no reason. There's always a story behind it that the news is reluctant to give for political or social reasons. If you just got your news from the Philadelphia Inquirer or NBC, then the story is almost always missing context. Due to social media, traditional mainstream media was forced to double back the next day and say, hey, there's a little more to the story here. 30 years ago, this would have never happened, and the story would have been left at that. There was no Instagram to correct the news or YouTube for people like me to make a story with a little more context.
At this point, the story would get even crazier. YouTubers and other online sleuths had begun to tie real-life murder cases to Noah, most notably Fat Dame's murder, which made a lot of sense given how much Noah had dissed him in his music, but also Gilly the King's son, YNG Cheese. This rumor being sparked particularly by Gilly's alleged nephew, who had posted a childhood picture of Cheese not long after Noah's murder, together with a caption saying that Cheese could finally rest in peace now that his killer was also dead. Shockingly, this rumor would seemingly be confirmed later on when Gilly himself would admit that this was who killed his son in an interview where Shannon Sharp, completely unaware, had brought up the tragedy of this supposed model student's sudden murder, and Gilly would later also reveal that the police had actually told him that Noah Scurry had been one of the suspects in Cheese's murder investigation all along.
I just read about this 17-year-old basketball player, straight A student. Am I wrong, Gilly? Used to be like the athletes, they got protected. Right. Nobody touched him. Hey, he good now. He gonna be what we, they're gonna be talking about the block. He from the block, he got out. They protected those guys. What happened?
That's who killed my son.
The 17?
Yeah, the 17-year-old basketball player that just got shot 17 times.
Yes.
That's who killed my son.
17 times?
It wasn't for my son. Them blocks is beefing. They going through it. My son just so happened to pull up out there 5 minutes. They come to shoot the block up. My son's not from that block. He don't, you feel what I'm saying? Yeah. He just so happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. These kids is influenced by all the wrong things. Right. To that don't matter. To that once upon a time when I was growing up in the ghetto, I was influenced by. I told you when I was young, he probably didn't know that. The person that was getting money, the hustler. That's why rap names was like Gotti. Rap games, it was always somebody that was getting some money. Now, it don't be about no money or nothing. They'll kill you about an Instagram post. Right. You said you was gonna slide, you ain't slide yet. Right. Now I slid. Like, are you serious? Right. So, it don't make no sense.
Meanwhile, the youths from rival gangs were celebrating Noah's death, with some of the first diss songs getting posted on social media only a few days after his murder, like a song from a rapper called Big 9 Millie, who would post a snippet to his new song where he rapped how Noah's killers did what Batman couldn't, before saying how Noah had become the topic of conversation with his Joker antics, but that the joke was now over. Noah's friends, who were rappers on the other hand, were also quick to use the huge media attention around him to their advantage, like the rapper Drench Season, who would drop a song titled Joker, which would receive a mixed reception as the song didn't actually have a single mention about Noah and was seemingly only named after the Joker to get attention online. But people close to Noah would also seemingly begin to drop all the songs that he had made before he died, with his catalogue quickly growing to a full EP's worth of songs, which would also include features from other rappers close to him, like Qua 4 and Rel Sosa, with most of these being dark diss songs, like his only officially released song Swing My Door, with Noah aiming his disses towards rival gangs like Fast Break, and specific ops like Mally, aka Jamal Tucker, who had allegedly snitched on his friends. However, there would also be more emotional songs, like the song known as Fours Up or Patience, featuring Qua 4, which gives a rare glimpse into Noah's more introspective side, giving at least some idea to the listener on what could have possibly driven a good kid like Noah to commit some of the most horrible acts that he had been accused of. All of this despite seemingly coming from a relatively good background and likely having a bright future ahead of him. He would rap how he has seen his friends killed by their own cousins and how he's been betrayed by so many people, before saying how many of his friends are in jail and how his cries for help have been ignored, and how he's been in numerous shootouts with his ops, and most notably how people keep telling him that he's going to be the ticket out of the struggle, but something is telling him that he's going to die before he can get out. It seems that at least on some—
What? This is what he's saying in the song?
Be the ticket out of the struggle, but something is telling him that he's going to die before he can get out. It seems that at least on some level, Noah knew that the life that he was living was going to end up bad for him, and that if he stuck with the positive things in life like basketball and education, he had a chance of making it big. But clearly, he was so consumed by the losses of so many friends, just like his father had pointed out on Facebook. Ultimately, any kind of vision for a positive future just wasn't enough for Noah to let go of the losses that he'd suffered in the streets. Another matter is of course the enormous influence of drill music culture. This is a somewhat controversial topic, as many academics, journalists, and other pundits like to point out how music cannot possibly influence youths to commit violence, even when these same people have often based entire theories and even careers on the claim that mainstream media pretty much controls our every thoughts and actions. Meanwhile, people within the culture are often the first to admit just how powerful drill music is in normalizing violence and influencing the youth. This influence is hardly a problem for somebody using the violence in normalizing violence and influencing
deep as hell.
The youth. This influence is hardly a problem for somebody using the violent, raw energy of drill music to get an extra set in at the gym, but it's another story completely when that same music is influencing a youngster growing up in an actual war zone, and where the lyrics end up providing meaning to real-life trauma. With this genre even providing a way out of the struggle, if gangsters can turn to artists and use their lived experiences to create music that resonates with others that have been through the same thing. But in a lot of cases, drill music has become the marching music to hype up those listening to continue waging the war in the name of their dead friends. Now, it's certainly not the music's fault, but drill music is an unfortunate symptom of a very dark and demonic energy found within the gang wars of the impoverished hoods of the inner cities. But to bring the story full circle, it seems like the best influences in the city are the likes of Gilly and Wallow, who have both spoken on the need to forgive and move past the grief of losing friends and family to the streets in order to keep thriving positively and providing for their families and communities. Wallow has spoken extensively on the difficult decision to forgive his brother's killer so that he could continue to support his family and provide a positive example to the community whilst keeping hold of his freedom.
My TED Talk, I forgave my brother's killer. That's my TED Talk. My TED Talk is about, see, what happened was, when my brother got killed, it destroyed me. Because that was my hero, that was my king. It was so much rage inside of me that when I called home, so many dudes, nobody really knew. It wasn't about knowing. I said, listen. I had to get with myself, and I had to say to myself, can my brother come back? All right, bet. No. What is my responsibilities as a man right now? I gotta take care of them babies. And then I said, I can't carry around this hatred and this anger. I won't be able to grow. I won't be able to glow because I'm gonna have this big package inside of me, and there ain't gonna be no space to evolve. And I ain't gonna have no space to be receptive to new things and new ideas once I leave prison. And I had to wipe my hands. It took some time, but whoever he is, wherever he at, I don't want him to go to jail. I don't want nobody to kill him because it's not gonna bring my brother back. I hope that empowered him to change, that he got away with it, that he did whatever. I know that I could have been somebody that took somebody's life in the middle of the night. And I'm understanding of the reality of the game we signed up for in a fine print that was in the street code contract that we signed. I understand that.
In the midst of this brutal tragedy, we have to tip our hat to the likes of Gilly and Wallow, because in the modern day drill culture, so many of the views and attention goes to the most evil of people, the killers, the gangsters, the real ones really doing dirty.
Why y'all have young
streets, standing on business and rapping about it. It's understandably alluring to feed into that eye for an eye energy that seeks street justice. But the truth is, that mindset is a dead end. It might sound good in songs over a booming demonic beat, but when the music stops and a body is laying dead, cold on the pavement in silence, there's nothing cool about it. So the story of Noah Scurry should serve as a warning and a lesson to the youth of today's gang culture. There really is no future in perpetuating the cycle of death and destruction that you hear in drill music. Killing only leads to more killing, and the only thing that's going to allow young people in the hood to stop that cycle of violence is forgiveness and an appreciation of the bigger picture. Life is much more precious than drill music would have you believe, and the world is much bigger than the blocks where gunfire and the screams of grieving families echo in the air. So I hope you take something positive away from this extremely dark and devastating story, and finally rest in peace to all of those mentioned in this story who lost their lives before they even truly begun.
Man, y'all stay safe out there, bro. Stay out the streets, bro. It's not worth it. Never worth it. If you don't go in there for safety, you might either that junk is not safe. You see, you go in there for safety, nigga, you still not safe, bro. Just stay out. Try to stay out the way, bro. Let me know something about that down below. I'm worth the 25,000 RP to these niggas, man. I'm out this bitch.